While the LG C2 has gotten much attention, is it the brightest OLED television on the market today? This television has an Alpha 9 Gen 5 AI processor 4K that improves noise reduction, sharpness, contrast, and color accuracy. However, it may not be the brightest OLED television introduced in 2022. We'll find out why the LG C2 isn't the brightest LG QLED TV in our conversation today by comparing it to other 2022 OLED TVs. So let's get started. Sony A95K. Maximum light levels and SDR are satisfactory on the Sony A95K. It comes strong enough to combat glare from a couple of weak light sources. Another issue is that it features an aggressive automatic brightness limiter, ABL, that dulls the brightness of bigger sections of color. The Samsung S95B also faces the same problem, and we shall look at this later, so stay tuned. Still, the Sony A95K will perform well if the room has adequate illumination. The automatic brightness limitation does not completely degrade the picture quality of materials or games, so you won't notice major variations in brightness when watching or playing them. This means that, for instance, if you want your TV to automatically change brightness and color in response to the lighting in your room, it will do so without your help. The LG C2 OLED offers decent SDR peak brightness. It is bright enough to avoid glare in bright environments, but the TV's ABL significantly dims enormous bright scenes. This impacts the LG C2's HDR and SDR brightness in addition to the former. The Sony A95K offers excellent HDR peak brightness. It produces a dramatic HDR picture with vibrant highlights. It uses sophisticated features such as well-known HDR compatibility, contrast improvements, 4K upscaling, bright color, and motion smoothing. Samsung QN90B. Samsung's QN90B has outstanding peak brightness and SDR. No number of windows or artificial lighting will be able to block its intensity. Unfortunately, it suffers from the same issue caused by its automatic brightness limitation as the LG C2. When using HDR, the LG C2 offers good peak brightness. Small, brilliant highlights in otherwise gloomy areas don't come through as vividly as on the LG G2 OLED, which we will look at, so brace yourself. When using an HDR, the Samsung QN90B is very bright. The little spectacular highlights are brilliant, illuminating any scene's minute details. The Samsung QN90B is incredible, to put it lightly. Whether you're viewing a video on YouTube, the evening news on TV, or a 4K video game, the picture quality is excellent. Thus, we can largely concur with Samsung when it states, "Brilliant details shine even in well-lit spaces/rooms with Samsung Neo QLED Ultra Precise Mini LEDs." The TV features we're most interested in is the eye comfort mode. You know how annoying it is when you are watching a movie and your room's lighting interferes with the overall clarity of the stuff you are viewing? This is remedied by the eye comfort mode, which analyzes the lighting in your surroundings and adjusts the contrast levels of your TV as needed. The contrast between the TV's brightest whites and darkest blacks may also increase when watching an HDR movie. With Quantum HDR 24X on the Samsung QN90B, HDR content has never been brighter or more contrasted. Samsung S95B. Let's start with the bad news. Both TVs suffer from an aggressive automatic brightness limiter, causing a significant decrease in peak brightness in really bright scenes. Here, we'll compare the two in terms of their brightness, first in SDR and then in HDR, and see what kind of reassuring information we can glean. Peak brightness in SDR and HDR is where Samsung S95B and LG C2 shine. It is possible to obtain the same level of brightness, roughly 420 nits, using real scene SDR pictures. Their maximum intensity is sufficient for use in environments with high ambient light levels. Consequently, glare and reflection are seldom a problem in a well-lit environment. Is there a victor here? The S95B's SDR peak brightness is somewhat higher than the LG C2, and the HDR peak brightness is higher yet. The S9B can achieve roughly 950 nits, while the LG C2 tops out at about 850 nits when displaying accurate HDR content. Because of the improvements made to filmmaker mode with the latest firmware, the S95B now has a distinct advantage. Watching films with this device is a joy. The filmmaker mode tracks brighter than it should. LG G2. The same firm manufactures these two televisions, so we'll go through the characteristics they have in common concerning image quality. They both include pixel level dimming, which allows each of the 8.3 million pixels on the screen to be individually dimmed, brightened, or turned off. In addition, HDR movies may be seen with enhanced contrast and brightness thanks to Cinema HDR. Dolby Vision IQ is another option that might improve your viewing experience depending on the kind of content you're watching and the lighting in the room. Alpha 9 Gen 5 AI processor 4K enhances noise suppression, sharpness, contrast, and color fidelity. Lastly, both offer a filmmaker mode that will modify the image settings automatically to stay true to the director's original vision. As a result, the LG C2 and G2 OLED offer better SDR peak brightness than earlier versions. Nonetheless, the G2 has an advantage over the C2 in one key aspect. The LG G2 has a brightness booster, which makes it one of the brightest OLED models available. If you are a die-hard fan of OLED TVs, you may have heard that the LG G2 has been getting a lot of hype lately and is considered to be one of the best models available. That is mainly due to the brightness booster. That means the LG G2's brightness will peak at 20% higher than the LG C2's EVO panels. Compared to the LG C2, the OLED G2 screen can display more vital highlights, making HDR photographs stand out more. The LG C2 OLED 2022 is not criticized in this video. It's a suitable device with excellent gaming capabilities. The TV's auto low latency mode, ALLM, ensures lag-free gameplay with any online video game. To know more, watch our video on LG C2 QLED TV versatility performance, gaming features, and more. See you there!